But given the fact that I think he really is contrite for what he's done.
I disagree. Have you watched the videos that have been posted since he's been incarcerated?
I have. I'm in a murder trial.
Okay, so.
So I had a chance.
So he's going to apologize to me in a minute, but that's not what he's saying on what he's publishing online in his phone calls from the jail. That's not what he's saying at all. And are you aware that he has a trial pending in Las Vegas Municipal Court? He has a case pending in Good Springs Justice Court where he continues to manufacture situations where he'll get arrested.
Your Honor, I recognize that's what he was sort of doing for a living, and this is, he's now being incarcerated.
Right.
And
So what he's saying in the couple of weeks since he's been incarcerated, when he calls from the jail and publishes them on his website, is not what he's about to say to me. Okay? So he's going to apologize to me now, but that's not what he's doing publicly, okay?
yes, Your Honor, I hear that. I won't have him speak at this time, but I would still ask you to consider that there may be legitimate issues. I think there are for Judge Levitt to consider, and I think these are sort of issues of first impression. That was the other thing I saw, is that in the state of Nevada, I can't find any case law that specifically talks about this filming of police officers. What I would say to the court is I recognize that it's obnoxious behavior. That's what it appears to be. Whether it's protected is another thing that I think higher courts need to look at. But I can see if the court has already made up, the court's mad.
Well, I want to be clear, I did not have a problem with him filming, and I said that when I sentenced him. That was not the issue. It was the safety issues that he created with his behavior. And I also did not sentence him because of his ridiculous behavior in court. That wasn't why I sentenced him to jail. I sentenced him because I found him guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and I thought that was the appropriate sentence. I could have given him 180 days on each count and ran it consecutive for a year in jail, but I didn't. And his behavior was unacceptable in court, but that's not what I sentenced him for. I did not sentence him for his behavior in court. I sentenced him for his behavior for the 2 charges that he faced.
Yes, sure.
All right, so your motion is denied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyways, my name is California and Texas Attorney Michael Ehline. My background is in appellate law. I got my start as a judicial extern at the California Court of Appeal. And prior to that, I worked as a paralegal and law clerk doing appeals. So I have a little bit of experience at this.
By the way, I checked with the California Court of Appeals and cannot find his name on one appeals case. Checked with the state of Texas, cannot find his name on one appeal case. So I don't know. I mean, it may be there, but you know, that's all public record, and can't seem to find anything where he has even done or filed an appeal in the state of California or Texas. So interesting, huh?
Done quite a few appeals in my life and ended up doing criminal defense and got into personal injury law. But my love is the Second Amendment and First Amendment. And that's what brought me to you today. So the first thing I want to say is thank you, everybody, for showing up in the sidebar. Thank you, Let's OTVO, for coming. Thanks, Kurt Bronson. Give me a bunch of OTVOs for Chille. And look, I know a lot of people make their living off of trash talking Chille, and they get all their millions of views and likes from saying bad things about Chille and Delete Lawz. So basically,
it's not saying bad things about Chille. It's exposing the truth about Chille.
You are terrorizing the people here. Nobody wants you here. Just leave. Listen, I'm a constitutional law scholar, brother. I'm not trying to incite a riot.
basically, from my perspective, he's created a whole industry of bottom feeders who are basically living off of him in order to pay their bills if their channel is monetized. I have my own firm and I do this voluntarily. So just a little disclaimer, I don't get any money for doing this. This is voluntary work. It's part of what I do because I believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And I believe that if you represent unpopular people, you should get an award for that.
Bottom beaters, huh? Yeah. Let me tell you what the problem is here, Mr. Ehline. Mr. Ehline, we wouldn't even known who you were if you wouldn't have jumped on the Chille bandwagon. And like a lot of other people, you look at what he says on the surface, what he represents on the surface. Yeah, it's not so bad. But nobody takes the time to look into this man's past and what his history is. And it goes all the way back to when he was 16 and 17 years old. 1 year after the next. Traffic violations, narcotics, three protective orders from that women have filed against him, and one man, two men. I'm sorry, two men. You know, it's because you have chosen to jump in and take his channel, and I noticed your subs and stuff, all that stuff's kind of gone up since you've been hopping on Delete Lawz. Interesting. And you talk about making a living off of YouTube, and I know who you're pointing the finger at. I mean, it's obvious. You've made it clear, beating around the bush. It's Dickbag Patrol and myself. Let me tell you. I can tell you here right now. I just figured it up a while ago. Since I've been on YouTube, I've made $10.60 a month average out of YouTube. $10.60 a month average out of YouTube. Period. And I spend way more than that. I don't rely on YouTube as my income, and neither does DP. I have a business. I don't need this. I do this because I can't stand to see people that are liars and cheaters get away with it.
Now, let's clear the air about Chille having no criminal record. May I direct you, Michael, to thepublicdocuments.com. This website is entirely dedicated to, how shall we say it, Chille's misadventures with the law. There seems to be a whole lot of history here, plus quite a long history of negligent driving charges. Speaking of that, are you going to represent him as the defendant in his upcoming negligent driving case here in California? As a personal injury attorney, I imagine you're usually working for the plaintiff in one of these type of cases. Might be interesting to try the other side, huh?
The very first photo you saw up there, that coat belonged to Tina Slay. That was Tina Slay's coat. He stole it from her. He took it from her house and wore it when he left, and wore it around for damn near a year, just rubbing her nose in it. Okay, now, on this case in 2002, on the GHB case, I had my suspicions about this because there's no disposition, court filings, or not even an arraignment. But the charges, he was arrested and the charges were filed. Now, I had a sneaking suspicion because I understand how CIs work. So more than likely what happened here is there was a rollover on the street. Rolling over is going for the next person up. He gave information to law enforcement to strengthen and better their case to go after someone who is a little bit bigger in the dealings than he was. And it's not uncommon, but usually when it comes to a stop and you can find no further information, the only people that know are the DA, the investigators, and possibly a judge. Chances are it never even gets to the bench. So prosecutors, DAs, and investigators are the only ones that would know. And that's pretty much what looks like happened here. He rolled over. They went after somebody else. And it goes on. And we've shown it. There's no reason to take it all out. I'm bringing it out in bits and pieces. You can stop and read it. It's all been documented. But don't sit there and point fingers when you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know who you're talking at. I've looked into you. You're a personal injury lawyer. You're an ambulance chaser, per se, is what they like to call them. And you've done well for yourself. But don't start calling other people bottom dwellers and stuff because you choose to represent someone or I shouldn't say represent, to assist someone, help them with their challenge. Look, the only reason Chille's even been on my radar since the very first video I did, he was the reason I started doing this, is because I knew that there were lies. I mean, you can, you know what? Almost the same parallel as the Michael Kaiser thing in the Stolen Valor. You know, almost same parallel. If he tells enough people a lie and can keep the truth from exposing him, then he's got some support. That's all. That's all it is with Chille. The fact of the matter is, more and more people, he gets exposed. That's all we do is expose, expose, expose. And if you want to choose to jump on his bandwagon, then you know you're going to have to take some shots. And if you're going to fire back, make sure you do your homework, because you're not accurate at all. We are. I've got the receipts. I'm posting them right there. Chille is what he is. He hasn't changed one iota. he's a grifter, you know. It's just insane that you think that we're deserving of taking lashings from you. And you came to our comment sections and started this. I would have never come to Michael Ehline's YouTube page or web page, and I've been to both. And actually, I spent a whole night in your web page, and I discovered a magazine called Leathernecks, and I spent a couple hours reading a real interesting article in there. I actually was kind of impressed with some things. I was impressed with your organization to assist veterans. The VA with Agent Orange, soldiers exposed to Agent Orange. And I'm sure that's probably personal for you a little bit since your father was in Vietnam. I get it. That's impressive. But what's not impressive is standing in for a fool like Chille de Castro and just make crap up to make him look good. You can't polish a turd, man. It's still a turd. Polish it all you want. It's still a turd. And that's what you have. You've got a well-groomed, polished turd. A guy that and he says, I won't stop. No, he can't stop. Because he has to get in, he has to get through to people that aren't willing to look at him as a whole and look at his past to keep support going. Has to. He's got to stay ahead of it because they drop. Some people, I don't care. Well, you care if you start reading some of this stuff. You read some of these protective orders and stuff, and just what this guy, what he'll go, the lengths he'll go to. Look, he's got no impulse control. You see it over and over and over again. And the protective orders, when you read what he does, it's indicative of no impulse control. We know from talking to previous employees of Chille's, he's in this for the money. You know, you got the Terry stop, and that's his big mantra, and his trifold and his stop card and all that stuff. That's all been created to generate income. Some of it's even nonsense. I mean, Dickbags pointed out many times, why do I need a card to remind me to tell an officer that I plead the fifth? I'm going to remain silent. Oh, Chille. Yeah, it's a grift. That's all it is, big grift.
And all of you should know that you don't need a college degree or to go to some government-approved school to be a journalist or to be a reporter. So that being said, I want to get into this with you a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for showing up again. We've got, so Greg B., I appreciate you showing up, Greg B. And I appreciate all of the stuff that people are saying. Apparently, they've heard a lot of stuff from people who don't like Chille, and they're using that as their basis to say that his appellate brief is no good or whatever. And I understand that. But I also want you to understand that opinions are like assholes and everyone's got one. And what really matters is the judge or panel of judges that hears the case. And that's just how it works. If you got a bad judge or what people consider to be a bad judge and you support the Constitution, you're going to lose.
You a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. I wouldn't.
You just know your shit.
I know my stuff. That's why there's 500 people here.
He know his shit, y'all.
Oh, I know my stuff.
Or the laws need to catch up with evolution. We've evolved into this electronic, instantaneous information era, and everything is so rapid fire and information is so quickly relayed. And you've got these platforms like YouTube. I don't consider myself a reporter. I would never go tell someone I'm a reporter, even though I have the same basis as Chille or any of these other guys that go out and do this First Amendment auditing stuff, and could do so. But I know that for the most part, it doesn't have anything to do with journalism. It has to do with, look, as soon as you insert yourself into any situation, it's got nothing to do with journalism, period. Now, if you want to do an interview after the fact or something like that, that's a different story. But we all know that's not what happens. This is for the YouTube channel. Look, there's channels out there on both sides that make buttloads of money. Exaggerated thumbnails, get clicks and views. And they built their channels up to where they're making, like I said, buttloads. That's not what I do. I mean, I do what I do. And I make phone calls. I look into stuff. I do investigative stuff from a telephone, through paywalls, what have you. I don't consider myself a reporter.
I saw a video today by someone who hates Chille.
No way. You're not going to get away with that. I know who you're implying that Dick Bag has said that he hates Chille. Never have I heard that out of that man's mouth. Ever. Not once. We've discussed it. We hope that Chille gets help. That maybe while he's incarcerated, he might get the psychiatric help that we think he needs. We never have said that we hate that man. Never said that about you. Never said, I don't believe I've ever heard it come out of his mouth. That's a pretty definitive, harsh word, hate. So that's not fair at all, Mr. Ehline. Not fair at all. See what I mean about just throwing sit out there and see if it sticks? People that claim that they're something that they're not, they pursue things they shouldn't be able to pursue because they're not the good people they claim to be, like Chille. Come on, how many times have you heard the man say he's got a clean record? Never. That's so much BS. It's just flat out lie. Period.
My other favorite comment left on the video about Chille's restraining orders that I did is this one. You heard it, folks. Lies. Never mind the video contains documents entered into a record in a court of law regarding Chille's harassment, stalking, and assault of his ex-girlfriend. Lies. Does that argument work in court?
Everything that guy just says is bullshit.
Now, you might be asking yourself what kind of lawyer would go around making comments like this on behalf of Chille. Probably the same kind that would write him a letter of support for his appeal. That's right, this bonehead, jarhead, actually wrote a letter full of inadmissible hearsay and entered it as part of Chille's bail hearing, wherein he champions Chille and claims he's grooming. A very poor choice of words, in my opinion. I mean, you didn't see anything wrong with that verbiage? Well, okay. Anyway, he's preparing Chille to be a itty-bitty little junior lawyer man by sponsoring him for the LOS program. Isn't that cute? Surrogate Daddy Mike is gonna teach little Jose to ride a bike. Adorable.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Just like that Chris Ryder, look, these documents don't make themselves up. There is an imaginary court somewhere that comes up with a court docket with a court case with signatures and, and details. You go, oh, no, that wasn't me. Who the hell was it then? Now, you have chosen to step in here. Now, whatever your motive is, I don't know. And you may be sincere about, you feel that strongly on what you support when it comes to the Constitution, First and Second Amendment. Look, me too. I was, I went through the cop watching thing. And it wasn't until I saw that the ones that claimed to be auditors that actually were interfering that got me started doing this on this side, because it's wrong. It's wrong to go out and harass average people for doing their job. It's wrong. That's not how you implement change. It's not how it works. So, like it or not, it's just not how it works. But again, Mr. Ehline, you came over to us making comments. Not so much me, but my partner. And I've seen it all. Chille goes rolling into Ironton, because this girl convinces him that the entire town's corrupt and so on and so forth, and he's going to go up there and implement some change. Well, get this. His case got thrown out, and he continued to file motions on a case that didn't exist. That's how sharp Chille is. Oh, come on. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that doesn't look into things, that just reacts off impulse. I mean, that's Chille DeCastro in a nutshell. Filing motions on a case that he originally filed had been thrown out, and he continued to file motions on a case that didn't exist. What, Michael?
Wow, you a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. I wouldn't.
You just know your shit.
I know my stuff. That's why there's 500 people here.
He know his shit, y'all.
Oh, I know my stuff.
Yeah, Gloria. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, by the way. I don't really have an axe to grind with anybody. It's just interesting how you see these non-attorneys, they'll cite a big section of law and say that you're in violation.
You've already released you've already released her. This is 2015 Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go.
Yeah, you're right, Mr. Ehline. That's what Chille does. Rodriguez versus the U.S. has nothing to do with releasing a traffic stop early. It has to do with holding a traffic stop until a drug sniffing dog shows up to walk around the car. That's what that case is predicated on. So, yeah, you're right. You're right, Mr. Ehline. There's people out there that spread stuff they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But that's your boy. That's not us. That's your boy that you are supporting. I think that's what you're doing.
Or they'll cite a case to say that this stands for the proposition that supports their side. But then when you read their cases, it's complete nonsense. For example, I saw a video today by someone who hates Chille saying that I violated the UCMJ because in one of my videos, I created a parody of myself wearing my camis from the Marines.
There's that hate statement again. That's awfully bold of him to say that, and it really ticks me off. That's what really got me fired up about doing this whole thing, is the fact that he said that there's hate for Chille.
Looks like we still got 60 people watching. That's
all right. Hey, can you guys hear me? EGA. All right. I'm super happy. But the good news is is I got NorCal with me, and that was the main thing. So I just want to tell you guys, so I'm underarmed, so I'm technically allowed to be in uniform. Now, the other guys who are going to say that you're in violation of the UCMJ because you're no longer active duty and you're wearing your uniform.
Yep, plain as day. I remember DP and I were talking about this, and I went and located this Marine Corps uniform regulation book, and I forwarded it to him, and he went through it, and he has he put in his video what he believes is applicable to Michael Ehline.
I mean, if only there was some sort of rule book we could look into. Oh, looky here, kids. It's a big rule book. Well, let's just take a look at the rules, shall we? DoD directives pertaining to uniforms. Members of the armed forces, including retired members and members of reserve components. The wearing of the uniform is prohibited under any of the following circumstances. Number one, basically at any extremist political meetings that could be considered a terroristic threat. And number two seems very relevant. During or in connection with the furtherance of political activities, private employment, or commercial interests, when an inference of official sponsorship for the activity or interest could be drawn. Well, you've called Chille a political prisoner, so that automatically makes it a political activity, and since you're raising money for Chille and promoting your own law firm, seems to me that would make it commercial. Number three prohibits you from doing any interviews, pickets, parades, demonstrations. In other words, you're not authorized to do any PR for the military. Number four, when wearing the uniform would tend to bring discredit upon the armed forces. Well, I'll leave that to your individual opinions. And number five, when specifically prohibited by regulations of the department concerned. Now B, and this is specifically applicable to Michael. Former members who served honorably during a declared or undeclared war, well, that's Michael, and whose most recent service was terminated under honorable conditions, again, applies to Michael, may wear the uniform in the highest grade held only upon the following occasions and in the course of travel incident thereto, meaning heading there and back. 1. Military funerals, memorial services, weddings, and inaugurals. And that's a little unclear. It's definitely military funerals, but is that also military memorial services, military weddings, and military inaugurals, or not? But either way, I do not believe live streaming falls under any of those. And number 2, parades on national or state holidays or other ceremonies that are sanctioned by the U.S. military. And we finish with a quote, "Wearing of the uniform or any part thereof at any other time or for any other purpose is prohibited." It was that I was only in for a very short time. It's 30 years on now, and though I'm certainly proud of my time in, I don't still wear my little Gilligan hat around and about. Now, to be fair, that hat sucked, and he'd have to put a gun to my head to get me to wear bell-bottoms again. Now, all that said, I want to be clear, I'm not impugning his achievement in passing basic training, nor doubting his willingness to serve, nor am I accusing him of stolen valor. From all appearances, the guy really wanted to serve, did his best, it just didn't work out. Shit happens. But let's face it, Michael, you were in, a few months? The way you present yourself, anyone who didn't know any better might think you're a lifer. In my opinion, it's a little Rive Gauche, man. Know what I mean? But hey, I'm just a Navy guy. Let's ask a Marine what they think.
You're not allowed to wear your camis unless you're under arms, right? We're not allowed to be in uniform indoors, like right on deck with an overhang, an overhead, unless we're armed, right, guys? Right? All you Marines, sound off if that's the case. All right.
Man, sound off these nuts, boot. God damn, boot Marines are the worst. I love being a Marine, man. It's an honor for. I'm a combat Marine. I went to combat as a recon dude, a Marine recon. Like that was like the shit. I love forever. And I get Marines can be a little bit, whatever. We're a little bit Marine-y about some shit. Boot Marines are literally the worst, though.
Well, safe to say I don't think he's a fan. But hey, one guy's opinion, right?
And it says right in that code section that the only way that section applies is if you confusingly convince someone you're an active duty service member. And of course, everybody knows that I'm not active duty. I've been out for years. So I just want you guys to understand, don't believe anything these guys say because they don't know the law. They don't know what they're talking about. At least Chille's made a good faith effort to try and learn the law and to try and get the legal training that he needs. And so because of that,
He know his shit, y'all.
Oh, I know my stuff.
Anyway, on to Michael's final amazing comment we're going to highlight here. The piece de resistance, where he comes at me gloves off, swinging hard. Huh. Funny stuff, sir. Now, do I look like Dirty Harry in real life? No. Do I look like an elf? No. Does Michael Ehline look like an elf? In my opinion, put a silly little hat on him, he looks like he should be baking cookies in a tree. I said as much in my reply to him, but, nothing clever to say, I guess.
What do you think? Impressive. Very nice.
Oh well, like I said before, I got nothing against elves. They're hardworking, industrious, and full of good cheer.
There you go, Mr. Ehline. That's parody. Little comedic parody there. I have to touch on this thought because this keeps coming to mind for me. Why is Michael Ehline doing this? Now, he claims it's to help his friend Chille. But I wonder, since his subs have increased about 30% since he started doing this, maybe he's got other things in mind. Maybe Delete Lawz is due for a change. Who knows?
Jesse, don't go! Jesse, no!
I'm sorry, Daisy, but I'm a loner, and a loner's gotta be alone. Yeah!